Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me in the lesson today. Today I want to tell you the language that's going to give you a higher score in the ISLPR test. And I'm talking about the writing aspect. So if you intend to write the ISLPR test, there'll be the writing section which will take an hour. And in that, you need to develop a particular register that you need to use. So in this tutorial, I just want to talk about how you should use language as you write whatever activity or whatever activity will be given to write in the exam, okay? So if you are interested in learning about the language, the register that you need to use, this is your tutorial. Let's get started. Before I actually go into what kind of language you should use, I need to tell you how the writing part is conducted. Now, briefly, when you go into the exam room, the first part will be speaking. You'll be speaking to the examiner. The second one is listening. You will listen to an audio or audios, depending. I listened to 2 audios and I had to answer questions verbally, speak. Okay? Then the third part is reading. Reading, you read a passage or 2, and then the examiner asks you questions from what you were reading, and then you explain to the examiner. But for today, our concern is the writing. In the writing part, you are expected to write 2 tasks. Oh my God, I almost said the first task is a speech, and the second one is a letter. That's because that's what I was given. But the examiner will choose what activity to give you. We don't know what activity you're going to write, but I've got a lesson that outlines what you can expect to find, okay? So let's say you are given to write a letter and a speech. The examiner will give you space, and they'll give you an hour, and there will be a camera focused on you to check on how you are writing. You are not allowed to go in with any paper, and you write about 400 words. So the first task, which might be a letter, you need to write, I think, about 150 words, and the second task is about 250 words. So altogether you can write 400 words. Altogether you need to write 400 words, okay? That is the writing exam, and both activities or both writing activities are done within 1 hour. So you've got 1 hour to yourself to write these 2 activities. Okay, so that's it about the exam, and that's what you expect. Now let's talk about the language that you use. So in terms of writing, there are registers. A register is just a level of formality in your language. A register is just a level of formality in your language, and examiners look for consistency in your language, in the way you write. There is the formal register and the informal register. Formal register signals professionalism, objectivity, and academic rigor. Then the informal register conveys friendliness, personality, and conversational type of easiness, okay? So in the ISLPR, use formal register, use formal language. In short, your writing should be formal, which means that your spellings too must be formal. No cell phone shortcuts, no whatever system you have developed yourself to summarize notes. You need to be consistent with words being written in full. So let's look at some of these differences. Firstly, let's look at vocabulary choices. So we are looking at precise versus colloquial. So in formal English, you will find a precise vocabulary, and avoid using slang, avoid using idioms, avoid using casual expressions, okay? Avoid using these. So I'll give you examples. If you are writing if you're writing an article, for example, in the test, instead of saying the exam started at 15 hours, you can say the exam commenced Or the study commenced in 2011 and it required. You don't say it needed. Needed is less formal, so you say it required. Instead of saying enough, you can say sufficient. Instead of saying sure, the study showed that, you can say the study demonstrated that. Now, I've got a list of this language in this article. Actually, I'm using my article, which is on the website. I'll put the link in the description so that you can just have time to come and read. So you should know the difference. The second thing that you need to know is tone and objectivity. So in terms of tone and objectivity of your writing, think about being personal or impersonal. Now, we said in the first point that you should choose formal English or formal language or formal register. And because we have chosen the formal register, we should be impersonal. So it is important to detach yourself as a person from what you are writing. And there's a way you can do that. For example, you can use the third person point of view. Now, a third person may, let me give you an example. Instead of saying, I observed that, right? I observed that. You can say, one may observe that. Or the data indicate that. You are not there in the data. If you say, I observed that or I have observed that, you are already in the story. So be impersonal. Let me read you this example. Researchers may conclude that increased screen time adversely affects attention spans, right? So you can say that informally, and to say it in the informal way, you can say, I think we can see that spending more time on screens hurts our ability to concentrate. Don't put yourself in the story, okay? Be impersonal. Point number 3, sentence structure. Complex and simple. Obviously, in formal text, you need to do a variety of sentences. Simple sentences, I think I've got an article on the website that clearly defines sentences and gives types of sentences and examples. I'll try by all means to link. If I forget to link it in the description, please remind me in the comments. So sentences. Oh, by the way, I've just remembered, on my website there is a book called Grammar Companion. I also have that topic in there. You can go to that book and just buy it. I think it's about $5. It will give you all these things that we are talking about in terms of sentences and which ones you should use. So for sentences, use a mix of sentences, complex sentences, simple sentences, and compound sentences. Remember to be passive, so use passive sentences. So instead of saying we discovered the policy or we discovered that, you can say it was discovered that the policy had unintended consequences. Okay, use that language. I'll leave out most of the examples to make this video short, but you can read the article. I'm literally looking at my article as I'm talking to you, so look at that article. The link will be in the description. Okay, then there will be number 4. Number 4 is contractions and colloquialisms. So in formal English, we do not use contractions. Contractions are words which we shorten. For example, instead of saying cannot, we say can't. Okay, yes, can't. I don't want to be insulting on TV or on YouTube. Okay. Instead of saying don't, instead of saying do not, sometimes we contract that to say don't. So when you are writing, don't say don't. Don't write do. Don't write don't. You should write do not. Okay? Again, more examples in the article. Number 5, punctuation and layout. Formal writing follows standard punctuation rules and avoids emojis, exclamation marks, and excessive ellipses. You need to avoid, you can't even put emojis, by the way. Okay, don't draw emojis while you write the test. So use proper punctuation marks, use formal language. I've got examples in the article. Click there in the article, click there and go to the article. Number 6, which is the last point here in terms of types of language that you should use, there is tone. Okay, the test requires that you write formal reports or recommendations, article summaries, letters, emails, or journal entries. You need to know how to write these. But there's a video that's in which I have given you just the types of activities. And actually, when you read the official website, they also recommend what I talk about. Okay? Yeah, they don't recommend what I talk about. I read from their website and I talk about that, just to be clear and honest. Okay, what are some of the pitfalls and how students can avoid these? Inconsistent register. The first sentence is a formal sentence. The second one is informal. Avoid that. Inappropriate tone for the task. Writing an informal email when the prompt demands a formal. Now, let me say that you can use informal language if the prompt says, or if the question says, write a letter to your friend informing him how you enjoyed your holiday. Obviously, you don't need to be very formal because it's you directly speaking to your friend. Because we have said you should use formal language, it doesn't mean that you cannot be informal. So understand the task that you are given, okay? That's the most important thing. Number 2, inappropriate tone for the task. So, sorry. That was number 2. Number 3. Over formality, do not be over formal. Number 4, don't be under formal, right? Writing a bit too casual. Writing a bit, even when you're writing to your friend, you need to remember this is a test, okay? This is a test, so you cannot add certain words that you may, use when you're talking to that friend of yours. And lastly, lack of variety. I think you need to use a bit of different sentences, like I said, complex sentences, compound sentences, and other types of sentences which are compound complex. You need to use those. Finally, I can say writing. I think the writing test is very simple because usually they will give you something that you can write. And don't worry about the format, especially for the letter. If you know the block format or the indented format or whichever format you know, please use it. They will not tell you which format to use. I was not given a format to use. Okay? So use whatever format you are very comfortable with. If you are writing a letter or if you are writing an article, as long as you have the basic parts, because every article has got introduction, main body, and conclusion, right? You need to have those, and that's it. Thank you so much for sitting in and listen to me say so many things today. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.